So we're going to keep going with assemblies and hopefully give you some hints on where we might be headed with this. So in this drawing, you can see I've created something I'm calling the unit bar. You can see I've created a pin. So we have the unit bar and the pin. And I've made both of these parts inside of a single part studio. Last time I used one part studio to make a single part, and then I made a few different part studios, but you don't have to do that. So this is just to show you that it's possible to do things this way. Now in the assembly now, I want to take a few of these bars and a couple of these pins and use them to build something. So I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4 bars and 1, 2, 3, 4 pins. As you can see, they're all kind of all over the place here. Let's look at our front view and we can kind of see them. If I take each one, let's separate them from each other. So there's one there, and here's another one, and one more on top of the file right there. Okay, and now I also will take these pins and spread them out a little bit as well. Okay, now what we want to do is assemble this into a frame. Now if we look at this in 3D, we can kind of see that with these 4 parts, in terms of the frame that I'm looking to create, I can have a couple that are parallel to each other here, and a couple that are kind of oriented. I can put these going vertically between those two, and then I can use a pin to connect those to each other. So let's now go through the process of building that. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to use a different one of these mates here. We're going to be using the Cylindrical Mate in order to take the pin and place the pin into the hole. So we're going to create a cylindrical mate. Let's start with this pin right here. So I'm going to grab that mate connector right there, and I'm going to put it into this circular hole right there. And for now, I'm just going to accept where that is. Okay, and so now I can kind of see that that pin is passing through the part, which is great. Okay, so let's continue that process with each of the remaining pins. All right, great, so that is done. Now a good thing that you may want to make note of here is that now if I try to take this part and I slide it from left to right, you can see that because I've made this relationship between the pin and the bar, that the entire thing moves together. Now while it's possible to actually take this and move it this way predictably, because these 2 pins are in the same direction as each other, the movement is not as predictable if you start doing this, because what this is actually doing is moving the center of this bar in a straight line, and the pins are free to rotate, so it does some weird stuff when you start to do that. So we need to actually add another constraint that'll make it so that these 2 can be combined with the other 2 bars. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a cylindrical mate, and I'm going to do this between this cylinder, this hole, which is kind of a cylinder in space. You can see that, and so I'm going to get the center of that. Zoom out, and I want to mate that with this end of the pin right there. So I'll hit OK. And we're done with that. And so now I just want to show you, if I move this up, that pin is staying inside of the hole that I just identified. Let's move that back. And I can also take this and I can rotate it around. And if I zoom out, you can see that as I rotate this around, that pin stays inside of the hole in the frame, okay, which is the relationship that I want to have there. Let's repeat that with the other one of these bars. Cylindrical mate. I'm going to grab this cylinder here. Now just kind of slide it up. Okay, so that's a little bit easier to see. So if we're in the front view, you can kind of see that these are now rotating together. Okay. Great. So let's just leave those there. The last thing that we want to now do is we're going to take these pins and we're going to align them with these here. So again, that's one more cylindrical mate to get done. Okay, so let's select then another cylindrical mate. And let's make that this pin together with that hole right there. We'll check that off. Okay. Now let's very quickly, before we do the last one, let's actually take this and just rotate it around. Okay, there we go. So that's the one we wanted to move. So now you can kind of see that those are rotating together. See that? Okay. And the last thing we want to link together then are going to be this pin and this hole right there. Okay, and now let's get back to our front view. And now let's try taking, let's get rid of that. Let's try taking one of these and rotate it around. And sure enough, you can now see that the entire system is moving together. So we have now made a frame where all of the elements are connected together using mate connectors. And now we have a frame that we can see can move in a couple different ways. All right, so one last thing that I want to show you, and that is that you can actually fix one of these parts and make it so that it stays placed in 3D. It's fixed as if you were taking it and clamping it to the bench. Clamping it to a table or making it so that it does not move in space. So I'm going to select Fix on this one, and I'm going to do some of those same movements that I did before. And so now you notice that this frame is moving as if this is staying put and everything else is kind of free to move. And so you can see we're now kind of modeling something that can move using a frame like this. Pretty cool, huh? So I know this was a lot of steps, and you probably didn't get it to work exactly right the first time, but good for you for pushing through. And that's going to do it for today. Nice work, everybody.